So this weekend we've got another women's MMA main event, Grasso versus Araujo, and it's actually a pretty good card with a terrible main event attached to it. There's definitely fights on here that would have been a better main event, but I'm going to be going over the card somewhat quickly and then giving my full card breakdown in 48 hours like I do for literally every UFC card. It's kind of my style on the channel. Some people don't like it, but it's just what I do, man. I make a couple of videos on the card each week and it just kind of is how it is. So Mike Jackson versus Pete Rodriguez here. I'm putting my reputation on the line when I say this, but I think Mike Jackson's a pretty good underdog. I'm not picking him to win, I am picking Pete Rodriguez to win, but at minus 650, if you're playing Pete Rodriguez at that kind of money, I don't really know what to say to you. That's insane. Mike Jackson is actually not a bad Muay Thai striker. Pete Rodriguez, for the most part, is just a powerful boxer, and he's so unproven. I mean, so is Mike Jackson, but Pete Rodriguez is so unproven to be minus 650. He only got signed to the UFC because he fought Jack Della Maddalena on short notice. And the guys that he has beaten before that were an Icon FC, Jorge Masvidal's promotion. And they weren't the greatest. He fought them all in very quick succession, so he's a very active fighter, and I like that. But he's kind of a guy that would fit better at the 155-pound division, in my opinion. Plus 500 on Mike Jackson. I mean, if you're willing to lose $10, I don't really mind it. But picking Pete Rodriguez here, like, what is this fight, man? Like, what? Anyway. Yeah, picking Pete Rodriguez for full clarity, but Mike Jackson at plus 500, I don't really mind it, to be honest. CJ Vergara versus Tatsuya Taira. Gotta go Tatsuya Taira. Not really the biggest fan of CJ Vergara, as some of you guys might know. I think he robbed Clayton Rodriguez, who was a really good up-and-coming fighter in the flyweight division. He didn't win that third round. He got out-grappled by Clayton Rodriguez in the third round, which is exactly why Tatsuya Taira should out-grapple him in this matchup here. I mean, he's like, his whole story is like, he's 31 years old, and his whole story is about how he set up a fight club in high school, and how he would fight in high school, and it's just like, you're 31 years old, mate, like, how old do you want your fan base to be? It's just a little bit cringe at this point, you know, so I've got to go with Tatsuya Taira, but I do think that Tatsuya Taira is the better fighter. I think he's going to get takedowns and out-grapple CJ Vergara. For 3 rounds, probably I think I'm going to pick a decision win. Maybe he gets a submission at one point or gets close to a decision, but Tatsuya Taira is the pick here. Pierre Rodriguez versus Sam Hughes. I'm picking Pierre Rodriguez, but I think that there's honestly, if someone told me that they were picking Sam Hughes, I wouldn't really mind it. She's actually looked amazing since she moved camp. I believe it was Fortis MMA that she's moved to. But in the past, she was training at some camp, and then after the 3-fight losing streak in the UFC, she packed her bags, moved to Fortis MMA, fought Estela Nunes. Honestly, I think I scored the first 2 rounds for Nunes, but I've only seen that fight the one time when I watched it live. And then when she beat Elise Reed, I thought, man, this is actually she's actually pretty good. And Elise Reed, that's a pretty well-aging win, to be fair, because Elise Reed has won since then. Sam Hughes, she's looking like a different fighter than the one that made the debut against Tisha Torres. Pierre Rodriguez is a really good grappler, really strong, really powerful. But the problem that she lacks, though, I don't know, you can be a little bit worried about her cardio at times, but I think that Pierre Rodriguez is going to win this one. She's a little bit smaller, but she does pack a lot of power in her hands, and she's got good grappling and wrestling herself. Sam Hughes could win this one, though. Like, Sam Hughes is a pretty good underdog, maybe. It's women's MMA, guys. I'm the worst women's MMA predictor, probably on YouTube right now. I've got a really good prediction record overall, but my women's MMA is probably pretty terrible, I'm sorry, but I did pick Yan Jianan to win, at least. So, yeah, there's that. So, Raphael Assuncao taking on Victor Henry. We've got to go Victor Henry here. 2 veterans fighting each other. Victor Henry's done well. Victor Henry's, honestly, manager has done very well to get him this matchup. Not because I think it's a winnable fight, but it's because it's going to be very good for his name value. Like, Victor Henry's almost 36 years old at this point in his career. He doesn't really have too long to go before he retires. I think he's probably only got like 2 or 3 years left before he's probably going to retire. Assuncao's 40 years old right now. I think maybe if he doesn't take too much damage here, he probably retires at UFC 283 in Brazil. But sorry guys, I'm breathing really, really loudly. I apologize. I don't actually know why. There's something wrong with me right now. But yeah, 4-fight losing streak right now. A lot of KO losses there. I don't think Henry will be able to KO him. Maybe, I mean, like, he put a pace on Hayoni Barcelos. This guy is cardio or something else. I think he's going to do the same. So I think he's going to put a pace on Assuncao. Maybe he can get a finish because he's gonna work. He's gonna work very fast, very hard. I mean, like, he puts a pace on his opponents, and that's what he did against Barcelos as a big underdog on short notice as well. So It's going to be an interesting fight. Got to go with Henry, though, to win it. Moving on, Nick Maximoff versus Jacob Malkoun. I'm not giving up on Maximoff just yet. I mean, I picked him to beat Andrei Petroski because I don't actually rate Andrei Petroski that highly. But he submitted Maximoff pretty easily, which is kind of scary because Maximoff's a Nick Diaz guy. Nick Diaz's passion is jiu-jitsu. I mean, in the build-up to Robbie Lawler, you could tell he's a lot more passionate about jiu-jitsu than anything else. And I know everyone talks about how he's a boxer, he loves boxing, but Nick Diaz really has a passion for jiu-jitsu, man. He really does. Jacob Malkoun, for the most part, he's a wrestler. He's not the most exciting fighter in the world. Some people think that he beat Brendan Allen. Bad take. He didn't do anything with the takedowns, like, whatsoever. So, Allen did more damage on the feet and won the fight. But, he beat AJ Dobson as an underdog, which I can respect. Abdul Razak Al Hassan, I think he might have been underdog in that one too. He's only really in the UFC because he's Robert Whittaker's boy, but he has proven himself to be pretty good. I'm still going to go with Nick Maximoff here. He is a really good wrestler. A lot of people thought that Punahele Soriano was going to out-wrestle him because Punahele Soriano has some sort of crazy wrestling background, but I did my research into Maximoff and he's also got some sort of college wrestling, but it's not like college wrestling. I think it's like community college wrestling degree or background or something like that. But yeah, Maximoff's got good wrestling himself. He's got good jiu-jitsu himself. It's going to be an interesting fight. It's going with Maximoff, not too confident. I think it should be a good one. Maybe Malkoun could be a very live underdog here. Mana Martinez versus Brandon Davis. I think Mana Martinez is going to get his first KO in the UFC. Before the UFC, he was getting KOs. Like, he KO'd Jose Johnson on the regional scene, who's now in the UFC, and looked really good in his Dana White's Contender Series fight in like 40 seconds. He's got a first round KO over this guy called Casey Jones. Took Guido Canidi to a decision. Not the best look in the world, but it was. I mean, Guido Canidi, actually, that's a well-aging win. But at the time, that wasn't. And at the time, though, his coach had just passed away. Like, it was a pretty big moment for him there. And then he fought Ronnie Lawrence in a nightmare matchup and obviously lost that one. Brandon Davis, on the other hand, I think he's going to get KO'd. I mean, but Garay was able to KO him in the first round. I think Mana Martinez probably should be able to do the same. I think it's Brandon Davis' second run in the UFC as well. So good for Davis getting back in there, but Martinez picking him by KO, man. His first KO in the UFC. He hasn't got a KO in a while, but he's due for one because he's a KO artist. That's what he does. No, Alonzo Midfield. Obviously, he's coming off that really weird win over Askar Mozharov, where he signed the contract to fight Askar Mozharov. And Askar Mozharov at the time was 26 wins, 7 losses. Askar Mozharov walks into that cage, 17 wins, 12 losses, man. I think, I can't remember who it is. I think it's called Fight Finder, is the company or the group of people that look into people's records, because they just popped Ihor Potieria for having a fake fight on his record. They just popped Armen Petrosian for having a fake fight on the record. And they popped Askar Mozharov bad, dude. This guy's 26-7. And they found out he was 17-12. They got him good. They got Askar Mozharov good, and the UFC cut him afterwards. And then Askar Mozharov failed some sort of drug test through USADA and then retired. So a massive W for Alonzo Midfield. Mozharov may be the biggest L in UFC history, potentially. Midfield should win this one here. Cirkunov, he looks good against Jotko in his first fight in the 185. In hindsight, that's a pretty good close decision to have on your record, and he did get subbed by Turman in a fight that he was looking somewhat good in as well. I think Midfield's going to win. Misha Cirkunov really should never have left 205 pounds in my opinion, and he wouldn't have found himself in this 2-fight losing streak sort of situation, but I think Midfield should be able to win. I think the power might be the difference. Midfield still got it. He's got carrier power. He showed pretty good grappling against Mozharov, who had no grappling whatsoever. Got to go with Midfield. Okay, first underdog pick of the card, Dustin Todorovic versus Jordan Wright. I don't think I've ever picked Jordan Wright in his UFC career. I picked him to beat EK. No, I didn't have a YouTube channel then. I'm lying to you guys. I didn't have a YouTube channel then. I didn't have a YouTube channel when this fight went around. I picked Bruno Silva to beat him, and I picked Marc-Andre Barriault to beat him as well, I'm pretty sure. So I've never picked Jordan Wright before to win in the UFC, because I don't really believe in him, unfortunately. But what does Dusko Todorovic lack? It's striking defense. And what is Jordan Wright? He's a kill or be killed fighter. That's what he is. He comes out here. He's very aggressive. He usually gets caught and knocked out. That's usually what happens to him. I mean, he got submitted by Marc-Andre Barriault. He got knocked out by Bruno Silva. Got knocked out by Joaquin Buckley. Dusko Todorovic. Knocked out by Chidian Njokuani. Good fighter, though. Gregor Rodriguez beat him up. Punahele Soriano knocked him out. I'm picking Jordan Wright, man. Like, he's kill or be killed fighter. He's not the best fighter on the roster. Dusko Todorovic, if he had better striking defense, would win this fight probably 9 times out of 10. But because it's Jordan Wright and he's so kill or be killed, and Dusko Todorovic striking defense isn't that great, and I've seen Dusko Todorovic KO'd before, I've seen Wright KO'd before, the fight doesn't go the distance in my opinion at all. But I'm going to go with Wright. I feel like if the fight leaves the first round, Todorovic probably will win the fight and take over. I'm going to go with Wright as an underdog. I mean, I don't really mind him as a dog, you know what I mean? And now Askar Mosrov versus Brandon Royval. There's some people out there that for some reason think that Kai Kara-France lost to Askarov. Unbelievable. There's actually quite a few people that believe that too, and it actually amazes me how delusional some people can be, because in that third round, Kai Kara-France outlanded Askarov 2-1 in significant strikes and 3-1 in total strikes. Askarov did nothing in that third round apart from that very short sort of sequence in grappling, and that's not going to score points because he did nothing with it. I just don't understand. I don't understand. Some people when people lose money on fights, man, their whole perspective changes, their whole attitude changes. It's actually kind of crazy. But I'm picking Askarov to win this one here. I mean, he did look really good against Kai Kara-France in that first round, but the thing is, though, about Brandon Royval is he's so explosive and he's so finish heavy. He's a finishing fighter. He can get a KO on the feet. Askarov's striking defense was somewhat exposed by Kai Kara-France, as I said. Kai Kara-France kind of pieced him up in the second round, outlanded him 2-1 in significant strikes in the third round, 3-1 in total strikes in the third round. Like he put a little bit of a striking clinic on Askarov, and Brandon Royval's going to be the better striker here. Royval's going to be dangerous from his back as well. I mean, he's got a guillotine over match now, which has somehow ended up being a well-aged win. Split decision win over Rogerio Bontorin, who for some reason Brawler Bible thought if Manel can't beat Rogerio Bontorin, he would be in the title picture. And then Rogerio Bontorin got cut from the UFC before that fight was even made. Like, Brawler Bible, oh, I hate Brawler Bible so much. He pisses me off. I can't believe people have a big following that just had the worst takes on the planet. I'm getting a little bit sidetracked. Brandon Royval, live underdog, very finish heavy guy. I'm picking Askarov to win though. Yeah, I think Askarov just fought the best defensive grappler in the flyweight division in Kai Kara-France. So I think Royval's going to get out wrestled by Askarov for 3 rounds. It's a tough one though. Royval really could find a finish, but it's not. I don't think it's going to happen in this one. I'm going to pick out Askarov. In a somewhat weird fight, you've got Cub Swanson moving down to 135 pounds, which I think is an interesting move at almost 39 years old. I feel like maybe he would have kept a lot of success at 145, but this has kind of had me thinking, you know. We've got a weird Frankie Edgar retirement fight. Why didn't Frankie Edgar and Cub Swanson fight each other at 135? Like, that could have been a really good intro fight for Cub Swanson at 135, and a really good fight for Frankie Edgar to retire on. A guy, both legends of the sport, both guys that have been around for a long time. I believe Cub Swanson's in the Hall of Fame for his fight with Doo Ho Choi. I'm not too sure if Frankie Edgar's in the Hall of Fame, but we're talking about like legendary fighters, man, that they could have been fighting each other. Good opportunity for Martinez though to get a big name under his belt, and I think I'm gonna pick Martinez to win this one. I think for the most part it takes place on the feet, and I'm gonna pick Martinez to win. I'm not gonna. Oh, do I? No, I was going to say I'm not going to pick Martinez by KO, and I'm going to pick him to win by decision. He's not really a KO guy. In fact, I don't think he wasn't able to KO Thomas Almeida, who is one of the worst chins in bantamweight history. And Zvad Valashvili, I guess that's a good win. I think Zvad got cut from the UFC after that match up there because he was being illegal. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going to pick Martinez by decision. I don't think he's going to get a KO here. I'm siding with Martinez. Interesting, a lot of people picking Swanson. He beat up Darren Elkins with a wheel kick, which was sick. I mean, the fight with Gucci didn't last long, but yeah, it's a weird one. It is a weird fight. I'm picking Martinez though. Now, in the main event of the evening, Alexa Grasso taking on Viviane Araujo. Grasso should win. Like, she should win. She's got some really nice boxing, some of the best just pure boxing at women's 125 right now. I think it's a very winnable matchup for her. I mean, her grappling's pretty good too. She's coming off that submission win over Joanne Wood, which unfortunately hasn't aged to be the best win in the world. I mean, she beat Macy Barber when she was on the come up. She beat Jeon Kim, unfortunately, once again, hasn't aged that well. Lost to Carla Esparza in a pretty competitive fight, which has aged somewhat well, because now she's the champion, but she's going to probably get knocked out by Zhang Wei Li within 2 rounds, but I don't know, man. Alexa Grasso, she just doesn't fight often. 5 fights in 3 years compared to Viviane Araujo, 5 fights in less than 3 years, I guess. I'm just looking at the girls that they've fought, man. I think Grasso should win. I think it's a very winnable fight for Grasso. If it's on the feet, she really should be able to beat Araujo. Like, Araujo's almost 36 years old. Like, this is such a weird fight. I'm gonna have to go with Grasso. But I'm just thinking, like, these are the rank 5 and 6 flyweights on the UFC roster. Is that correct? Like, what? Like, the women's flyweight division really has only been made to pad Valentina Shevchenko's legacy. Like, what are these two doing in the top 5 of the division? That is absolutely insane. Alexa Grasso is ranked number 5 after a win over Joanne Wood and Macy Barber. Like, what? Anyway, what? I'm so surprised. But anyway, that's it. That's my video prediction. 16 minutes, not too long. I think it's a great card. Like, it is a great card. There's 13 fights. It is actually a lot of fights for a card. And, it's just got a terrible main event. That's it. It's just got a terrible main event. But it should be a good fight night card. I'm looking forward to it.